My name is Emily Carter, and tonight, my name is etched in golden letters across the giant banner outside Lincoln Center. Carter and Company, official sponsor of New York Fashion Week. The silk of my ivory blouse whispers against my skin as I adjust the cuff, a nervous habit I never outgrew. My reflection in the floor-to-ceiling window stares back at me, a woman polished, composed, seemingly untouchable. Yet beneath the diamond studs and the tailored skirt, there's still a part of me that remembers the sting of laughter, the mocking voices that once turned my love for fashion into a scar. The city glitters below, but the sharp buzz of my phone cuts through the calm. I glance down. A text. From her. Jessica Miller. A name I haven't seen in years. Back in high school, she led the cruelest chorus of jeers when I walked into prom wearing a thrift store dress I had stitched together myself. Now, her words blink on my screen. Wow. Never thought I'd see her name sponsoring Fashion Week. Guess things change, huh? My chest tightens. I can almost hear her laugh echoing across the gymnasium that night, the laughter that chased me all the way home. I slip my phone into my clutch, smoothing my blouse again, grounding myself. The irony tastes sharp on my tongue. Yes, Jessica. Things do change. And tonight, you'll see just how much. I was 17 the night it happened. The senior prom, a night every girl in my school had been planning for since freshman year. My classmates wore glittering gowns rented from expensive boutiques, their nails manicured, their curls bouncing with the effort of overpriced stylists. Me? I wore a dress I had made myself. It wasn't perfect. The fabric came from the clearance bin at Joe & Fabrics, and I had spent weeks teaching myself how to stitch it together with my grandmother's old Singer sewing machine. The hem wasn't even, the zipper caught if you pulled too hard, but to me it was beautiful. It was mine. I remember the moment I walked into the decorated gymnasium. For a second, I felt proud, like maybe I belonged. The disco lights caught the shimmer of my dress, and I smiled. Then I heard it. The first laugh. Emily, did you raid a thrift store dumpster? Jessica Miller's voice cut through the music. She stood with her friends, each of them in identical sequined gowns, pointing, laughing. Their giggles spread like wildfire. I froze, my hands brushing over the seams I had stitched myself. My cheeks burned. Seriously, who let her in looking like that? Another voice sneered. The words blurred into a chorus of humiliation. I tried to smile, tried to pretend it didn't matter, but the lump in my throat betrayed me. My hands shook as I reached for the punch bowl, anything to anchor myself. That's when my grandmother, Margaret Carter, appeared. She wasn't supposed to be there. She had volunteered to help with the decorations. She saw my trembling hands, the tears threatening to spill, and without a word, she wrapped her shawl around my shoulders. It was a faded silk scarf, embroidered with tiny roses. Emily, she whispered, her voice steady, don't you ever let their laughter decide your worth. Clothes don't make a woman. The courage to wear them does. Her words sank deep into me, heavier than any insult Jessica could throw. That night, I made a decision. I wouldn't let their cruelty define me. I wouldn't spend my life waiting for their approval. If they wanted to laugh at my outfit, fine. One day, I swore, I'd give them something far more unforgettable to look at. And I would never, ever apologize for being different. After that night, something inside me shifted. I stopped waiting for approval and started building a future where I wouldn't need it. The first step was small. I saved up tips from my part-time job at a coffee shop and bought a second-hand sewing machine that didn't jam every 5 minutes. I spent nights hunched over that rickety desk in my bedroom, fabric scraps piling around me like confetti, pricking my fingers, until they bled. I watched YouTube tutorials, checked out library books on fashion history, and learned the art of draping from scratch. At first, nothing I made looked good enough. My stitches were crooked, my hems awkward, my designs clumsy. I cried more nights than I care to admit, staring at torn fabric, convinced Jessica and the others had been right all along. But then came the first win. A local boutique owner, Mrs. Elaine Harper, saw me sketching in the coffee shop where I worked. She was in her 50s, sharp bob haircut, red lipstick always perfectly applied. She looked at my notebook and said, "You have an eye, kid." Don't waste it. She offered to display two of my handmade pieces in her store. They weren't much, a linen wrap dress and a cropped denim jacket, but a week later, both sold. The boutique called to ask for more. I will never forget the moment I held that first envelope of earnings in my hand. It wasn't just money. It was proof. The journey wasn't easy. My college roommates were out partying while I stayed up sketching designs by lamplight. I skipped vacations, ate ramen noodles for weeks, and reinvested every dollar I earned into fabric, supplies, and branding. Still, there were cracks of light. The first time a stranger tagged my dress on Instagram, smiling like it made her feel unstoppable. The first tiny write-up in a local fashion blog. The first time I walked down Fifth Avenue and saw a girl carrying a Carter & Company tote bag, not even knowing she had passed by the girl who had made it. Through it all, I stayed quiet. I didn't flaunt my progress online, didn't post about late nights or small wins. When my old classmates asked, I kept my answers vague. Oh, I'm working on some design stuff. They didn't need to know that some design stuff was becoming an actual business. Deep down, I wasn't hiding out of fear. I was protecting my dream. Some things grow stronger in silence. By the time I was 24, Carter & Company had an online following, a loyal client base, and investors quietly circling. At 26, I launched my first official collection at a small but respected fashion show in Brooklyn. I still remember standing backstage, palms sweaty, heart racing, hearing the applause as the final model walked out. It wasn't Madison Square Garden. It wasn't Paris. But it was mine. And I knew this was only the beginning. The ballroom shimmered with golden light, crystal chandeliers raining brilliance across the polished marble floor. This was no high school gym. This was New York Fashion Week, and tonight Carter & Company wasn't just a participant. It was the sponsor. My private lounge overlooked the runway. Velvet drapes, champagne glasses on silver trays, the Carter & Company logo embossed on every invitation. All of it felt surreal, even to me. But I had earned every inch of it. The double doors opened, and in walked the ghosts of my past. Jessica Miller. Her entourage of familiar faces from high school followed, the same girls who once laughed at my thrift store dress. They looked older, sharper, dressed in designer gowns they probably rented for the night. Their eyes darted around the room, widening as they absorbed the details, the curated art on the walls, the custom gowns displayed on mannequins, the quiet hum of assistants whispering into earpieces. Emily. Jessica's voice rose above the chatter. She tilted her head, like she couldn't quite reconcile the girl she remembered with the woman standing before her.
Wow.
This is your brand. I smiled, calm, measured, every bit the woman I had fought to become. Welcome to Carter & Company. They exchanged glances. One of them whispered, "She's the sponsor?" I let them linger in silence, let their disbelief settle like dust. Their eyes searched for cracks, a stumble, a flaw, but I gave them nothing. Jessica laughed nervously, brushing her hair behind her ear. I mean, who would have thought? Back then, you know. Her words trailed off, and I knew exactly what memory pressed to her tongue. That thrifted prom dress. The laughter. My shame. I leaned against the marble table, my tone even, almost gentle. Back then, you said I didn't belong in fashion. She flushed. We were kids, Emily. Just joking around. The weight of irony pressed against my chest. Kids or not, her words had carved themselves into my skin for years. But tonight, standing here, surrounded by everything I had built, I realized something. Her voice no longer mattered. Still, I let the truth spill, smooth as silk. I didn't just make it here, Jessica. Carter & Company is sponsoring this entire event. Every spotlight, every runway, every headline, it carries my name. Their faces were priceless. Eyes widened, mouths parted, a stunned silence settling over them. For once, they had nothing to say. Jessica swallowed hard, her bravado faltering. That's incredible. Really. I'm proud of you. The words sounded foreign on her tongue, almost reluctant, but I didn't need her pride. Instead, I gestured toward the runway as the lights dimmed, music swelling in the distance. You mocked my outfit once. Tonight, The world is walking in mine. At that moment, the show began. Models strode down the runway, draped in my designs, bold, unapologetic, distinctly mine. The crowd erupted in applause, camera flashes lighting up like fireworks. I watched Jessica and the others as they sat in the front row, their expressions shifting between awe and disbelief. They weren't just watching clothes, they were witnessing the proof of everything they had tried to tear down. And for the first time, I didn't feel anger. I felt free, because I had already won. After the show, the lounge filled with chatter and clinking glasses. Industry leaders congratulated me, journalists scribbled notes, and investors shook my hand with promises of bigger things ahead. But across the room, Jessica and the others lingered near the edge, hesitant, their laughter gone, replaced by uncertainty. Finally, Jessica approached. She clutched a flute of champagne like it was armor. Emily, listen. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. For everything back then. We were stupid and, honestly, I envy you. You've done what none of us even dreamed of. Her voice trembled, and for the first time, I saw not the queen bee of high school, but a woman realizing she no longer held the power. I set down my glass and studied her. Years ago, I would have begged for this apology. Tonight, I didn't need it. But I also knew something she didn't. Forgiveness wasn't about erasing the past. It was about rewriting the balance. Jessica, I said softly but firmly, I don't hold grudges. But if you want to stand in my world now, it has to be on new terms. She frowned. What do you mean? I gestured toward the models still mingling in my gowns. Respect. Kindness. Collaboration. The industry doesn't need more voices tearing others down. It needs people who build each other up. If you want to be here, if you ever dream of working with me, prove you've grown past cruelty. Her mouth opened, then closed. For once, she had no quick comeback. Behind her, one of the other girls, Lauren Parker, stepped forward. Emily, I've always admired you. I never said it back then, but I wanted to design too. I just didn't have the courage. I looked at her, really looked. Her eyes weren't mocking now. They were pleading. And suddenly, I remembered my grandmother's words, the courage to wear it matters more than the dress itself. Then here's your chance, I said. Apply for our internship program, but you'll earn your place like everyone else. No shortcuts. Her face lit up, hope flooding where arrogance once lived. One by one, I set conditions. For Jessica, change your ways, show respect. For Lauren, prove your passion with hard work. For the others, I challenged them to stop chasing shallow status and find what truly mattered to them. This wasn't revenge. It wasn't cruelty. It was accountability. Because true power isn't about crushing the people who once hurt you. It's about showing them a door they never thought you'd hold, and making them decide if they're brave enough to walk through it. As the night wore on, I realized I had become something more than a designer. I had become a mirror. In my success, they saw their failures. In my grace, they saw their pettiness. In my conditions, they saw their choices. And for the first time in my life, I was the one setting the rules. Weeks passed after Fashion Week, but the echoes of that night stayed with me. True to my conditions, Lauren applied for the internship program. I read her application personally. Her sketches were raw, unpolished, but full of heart. I saw in her what I once saw in myself, a girl desperate to create, even when the world told her she couldn't. I gave her a chance, not because she was part of my past, but because she had the courage to step into her future. Jessica, on the other hand, sent a long message, paragraphs of reflection, apologies tangled with self-awareness. She admitted how shallow she had been, how much of her cruelty came from insecurity. She didn't ask for a job. She simply asked for forgiveness. And for the first time, I gave it freely. Not for her sake, for mine. Because forgiveness isn't about saying, it's okay. It's about saying, it no longer controls me. Late one evening, I sat in my office, the city lights flickering through the glass walls. On the desk lay my grandmother's scarf, that faded silk with tiny embroidered roses. I kept it close all these years, a reminder of the night I almost broke, and the woman who made sure I didn't. I ran my fingers over the worn threads, her words whispering back to me. Clothes don't make a woman. The courage to wear them does. She was right. My success wasn't just about fashion. It was about courage. The courage to endure humiliation, to create in silence, to rise without anyone's permission. Now, I sponsor one of the most prestigious events in the world, but I've learned that true power isn't in the spotlight. It's in how you use it, to heal, to inspire, to open doors for others. As I stood by the window, looking down at the city that once felt too big for me, I whispered to the girl I once was, "You made it. You didn't just wear the dress. You became the woman who designs them. And if Jessica or anyone else ever remembers me for that night at prom, let them. Because tonight, I stand taller than their laughter." They mocked my outfit. I smiled, my reflection strong in the glass. Now they're walking under my banner.